Hi there, Hope Zvara here, creator of Core Functional Fitness, and I'm here to take you through 5 user-friendly foot moves for healthy, happy feet. For many of us, we're walking around not only in shoes all day that are probably too small, too narrow, too tight, but we also then find that we're wearing heeled shoes. So if I use my foam roller as an example, all day long, walking around with a raised heel is shortening substantially the backs of our legs, not just the calf, but all the way up into the hamstring. And so we find that we get a false perception on the reality of what our feet should really be doing. Katie Bowman says that we walk around in casts all day, and I couldn't agree anymore. But in addition, we find that wearing shoes as much as we do, and then going to exercise or train, we are continuing to wear those shoes that are creating a lot of our issues already. So one of the reasons why I love yoga is that we're practicing in bare feet. But today I want to take that one step further. And it's no longer enough to just take your shoes off, but I want you to actually do stuff with your feet that will help you undo the years of walking around in casts, but also the years of neglecting your feet. So the first one is utilizing an AccuBall. So it's just a knobby little ball, looks like the size of a golf ball, that's going to help trigger point the bottoms of your feet. We have muscles down there underneath our feet, and for many of us, the muscles in our feet have been atrophied to be wearing shoes that are overly supported or even orthotics. And although they may be helpful to alleviate pain, they're just masking the pain. And today we want to undo a lot of that. So by taking that little ball and rolling out the bottoms of the feet with various pressures, you're going to find that you're able to access a lot of those nooks and crannies that may have otherwise been overlooked. As a yoga teacher and a yoga student, I find that this alone can change the dynamics of your practice. We're also working on a layer in the body called our fascia. And so our fascia is not just a unitard over our entire body, but it's within every fiber of our being. And so by working through the fascia or the netting of the feet, we're also going to release those casts, so to speak. And just noticing any areas that feel a little tender or maybe a little restricted and paying extra attention to those. And I'm just going to do the other side of the foot here for sake of balance. If you don't have an AccuBall, I'll encourage you to use something, but this is a worthwhile investment. A golf ball, a tennis ball, or a small kid's play toy. But again, various pressures can help you get all those different layers of tissue. Think about trying to wake up your feet. This could be your foot's cup of coffee. If you invest in one of these, this is also great if you work at a desk, kick off your shoes underneath, and just roll out your feet to help keep them happy and healthy. Awesome. All right, number 2 is going to be working with a foam roller. So I have a half of a foam roller. And I'm going to step the ball of my right foot up onto that foam roller, so my foot is straight forward, and then keeping neutral pelvis, relaxed front ribs, I'm going to anchor my weight into the back heel, staying upright, and then only if my body allows me to, bring the opposing foot forward, as far forward as my body lets me. So the goal is not to get the foot forward, the goal is to stretch the calf. So once you feel that calf, more specifically the soleus, which is underneath that big bulky calf muscle, which is a huge culprit to plantar fasciitis. So if you have plantar fasciitis, you need to be doing the stretch gently but thoroughly every day. So the goal would be to hold this for up to a minute, and as you draw length to your body, you may even get some psoas or hip flexor stretching as you work to create that length. I was telling the class the other day, this is like the negative heel stretch. We're in an incline all day in most of our shoes, and now we're going to go into a decline. And so inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Awesome. So again, working to hold this for up to a minute, and then we're going to do the opposite foot. I'll often encourage my students to work in a 2-to-1 ratio, so working that tighter side twice or twice the time. Again, front ribs relax down, and I'm either going to work to step parallel or work to step just in front of the foam roller as I anchor my weight back and work to stay neutral and upright. Now, depending on how your normal foot strike is or your foot pattern, take a look at your back foot momentarily and notice if the ankle is sinking in or out, and see if you can undo a little bit of that to try to access those tight areas of the body. And so again, nice deep breath in, nice deep breath out. When we're working with any sort of exercise, I always want to encourage my students, it's not just doing the movement or the exercise that's going to deem you successful, but it's asking yourself what body part should be working in this movement in order to achieve what the movement is trying to offer me. So just a little food for thought. It's not just coming into this stretch, but it's trying to ask yourself, what am I hoping to achieve? That soleus stretch or lower leg stretch, keeping a neutral frame of the foot, nice neutral pelvis. Awesome. And then stepping off of that. Foot move number 3 is a calf stretch. So now we're working that gastrocnemius or that gastroc stretch. Pelvic neutral, casual step back. Let's go with the right foot again. Toes turn straight forward. Pelvis and hips are in neutral. Bend the front knee and really focusing again on a neutral pelvis, relaxing the front ribs. Back foot is straight forward. On the exhalation, bending the back knee, but keeping the heel on the floor, and inhale, lengthening. I've been working with this stretch for several years, and it's amazing what it can do, especially if you're a runner. If you're able to, take a peek down, and if your knee is heavily collapsing in, I want you to look closer to what the ankle is doing, and try to keep more of a happy ankle as you work this stretch, and that may also shift the sensation. 10 rounds. If this feels pretty good for you, slightly internally rotate the foot, and the knee will follow that though. So your knee no longer will be pointing forward. Exhaling, bending, and inhale, extending. Nice, let's go one more. And then stepping up. Awesome, let's try the opposite side. Notice how my stride is not big. Now, the more restricted you are, the smaller your stride is going to have to be. I've had students that have had literally a foot's length stride because their lower leg is that restricted. Again, the goal of the pose or the exercise is not to achieve some massive stretch or some massive type of movement, but to release that which is tight. And so exhaling and inhaling. Try to keep the front leg steady. And again, pay attention to what your foot is doing as you work the back leg. You may feel this all the way up into the hip, depending on what kind of strings within the body are pulling. Let's do 2 more. And last one. Awesome. All right, we're going to take it to the floor. You'll need a strap or a necktie or a towel, something that you can hold onto the foot with. So laying yourself back, neutral pelvis, that means pubis bone and hip bones run parallel with the ceiling, broad upper back. Loop up your right foot, and then holding the strap, notice how my arms are in a nice extension, not strained. I want you to draw down with your left hand, externally rotating the ankle. So I'm going to get a really good stretch through the outer ankle, outer foot, and let's hold here. So I'm pulling down more with the left hand than I am with the right hand. And just inhale through the nose, exhale. I can subtly shift my foot to create a slightly different stretch. And just take a couple good breaths here. And then back to center. Neutral out the ankle and just flex up through the heel. Feel free, leg can go to 80 degrees. Just a little food for thought. True extension is about 80 degrees. 90 degrees, you're already in hyperextension. So again, the goal is not nose to knee. When you flex out through the heel, try not to collapse through the inner arch, but try to keep a nice, happy, neutral ankle. Awesome. All right, let's try the opposite side. Again, I'm still keeping neutral pelvis. I'm not jamming my back into the floor. I'm going to clasp hold the strap, one hand to each side, externally rotate, and then lengthen like you're shooting a little spider web out through the outside of the ankle. So just inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. If you're a runner or you're on your feet a lot, this will feel amazing. And by amazing, I mean a lot of sensation. So just work your way up to it, slow and steady rather than fast and furious. If you're looking to increase functionality in your body and reduce pain. And then back to center. And I'm just going to let out my leg a little bit, really reach out through the heel. Thinking about bringing the ball of the foot towards you. You can even try to spread your toes. and then release that leg. By all means, your tighter one, I'd encourage you definitely, if you're interested, to go to that 2-to-1 ratio, go back to that tighter side. But our fifth and final kind of foot hack or foot exercise is going to be fingers to toes. So I'm going to take each of my fingers and work them between each of my toes. And then spreading my fingertips out, open up my toe beds, and then wrapping the fingertips around the toes as I move my foot or my toes kind of in a nice circle each way. So again, for many of us, we're wearing shoes that are too narrow, too tight, too restricted. And so if you find that toes are on top of each other, or when you stand they don't touch the floor, really trying to give your feet a break and literally a breath of fresh air by working with this. My kids, yoga kids, love this. And then opposite. And if you need to, sit in a chair for this. And if you can't use your fingers, try using pencils, and then maybe upgrading to markers or crayons. And you might notice a little locked upness in your feet, if that's not a word, it is now, to help release that. Releasing your feet will also have a positive effect on your knees, and also have a positive effect on your lower back and hips. And so I always teach my students that from the ground up. If something is bothering you or an issue down here, it can manifest upwards. Where a foot issue can actually be a hip or a shoulder or a neck injury or a neck issue. So trying to create a better base will help you create a much better body on top. So I hope you found that some of these, or maybe all of these, will be helpful. And I'm going to encourage you and challenge you to try to incorporate these as often and as sweetly into your day as possibly. And when I say sweetly, I mean just don't get so overly aggressive. When you do the calf stretch, just slow and gentle and consistent for up to a minute each side. When you're working with the AccuBall, rolling out the feet, you don't need to grind your foot like you're trying to grind metal, but trying to work all the different surfaces of the foot. When you're stretching with the strap, trying to be sweet to the body, but also trying to find those nooks and crannies that don't otherwise get accessed. And finally, when you're working with your toes, be willing to give your body the time that it needs to undo that which you've spent probably most of your life doing. For more information, visit my website at hopecorefitness.com. I have an online training, Core Functional Fitness, Functional Foundation, that's available to both students and practitioners. And check out many of my other videos in my blog. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a message at info@hopezvara.com. And until we see each other again, from my heart to yours, from my soul to yours, namaste.